that our next topic is weeds and control. Here, what are weeds and how we can control the weeds? There are the plants which grow where they are not wanted are called weeds. Weeds compete with the mulberry plants for water, nutrition, light, and space, and reduce the yield of mulberry leaves. That's what it decrease the crop quality and yield. Weeds also harbor insects, pests, and diseases, and some weeds are poisonous to the plants and human beings as well as animals. Some weeds are parasitic in nature, and weeds increase the cost of cultivation and reduce the quality of mulberry leaf. Weeds are known to reduce mulberry yield generally up to 65%. Weeds are hard, grow fast, flower early, and produce seeds in profusion. Weed seeds in general do not lose viability. Common weeds of mulberry garden are the dope grass are also called as hyrially, cynodon, dicet, di, dicyclone. It is also called as just now I told you, that is hariali or dope and this gives more troublesome to the perennial grass. It is deep rooted with underground rhizome, and strike roots at the nodes are difficult to eradicate. It is propagated by grass and underground stems. Next one is Cereus rotundus. It is commonly called as nut grass, though it is not a grass. It is perennial, and the stolons of this grass is found very deep in the soil. It is an erect, globerous, and very persistent herb. It is very difficult to eradicate this nut grass. It is propagated by seed-like nuts and underground stem. The other one is Lagaceae mollis. This is also called as broadleaf weed, and the other one is Trianthina. It spreads the broad-leafed perennial plant. When pulled out, when breaks down easily, this can propagate both by the seeds and vegetative processes. Generally, when the cattle eat the seeds, the undigested seed comes along with the dung, and when used as a manure, that weed germinates and affects the crop. And other one is Philanthus neruri. Usually botany people called this plant is a medicinal plant. It is a glabrous annual herb with the small leaves which propagates through seeds. But for our mulberry garden, it acts as a weed. And the other one is Euphorbia hirta. This is called as perch or asthma weed. The pollen grains of this plant create severe bronchial problems, lung issues to the animals and the human beings. So commonly called as, this plant commonly, Euphorbia hirta is commonly called as perch and asthma weed. It is a small prostate annual herb, reproduces by seed, and cultivation and manual methods can also control this weed. The next one is Tridax procumbensis. This Tridax procumbensis, it is a perennial herb. You can see Tridax everywhere in around the homes, wherever the moisture is presented. We can see this Tridax procumbensis. This is a small, dry, seeded fruit that does not open to release the seed. And the other one is Xanthium, Xanthium stumimarium. This is commonly called as burrweed. It is a coarse annual herb which can propagate by roots. The other one is a Parthenium hysteriforus, commonly called as Congress grass and also carrot weed. It is an annual herb. This is a annual herb and a noxious and exotic plant which came from the other countries. It prefers the moist shade areas and causes the lung infections and other allergies in the human being as well as animals. Seeds are extremely light in weight. That's what it can disseminated by the wind and water birds and animals. It has to be unprotected by uh, it's been like uprooted before flowering. So we discussed about these many plants, but we discussed about these many plants, uh, but we have to know the controlling measurements of these plants. The first one is how to control this weeds. Weeds are controlled first one by mechanically by pulling out by the hand or plucking out with the help of instruments. Here you can see this is Euphorbia hirta and the other one is Cyperus rotundus and the other one is Tridax procumbens. Uh, Here it is a Tridax. You can see all these plants here and there around your homes also. The well-known species is Parthenium. So all these we can see around our homes naturally. So the controlling measurements of these plants, just now I told you, yes, we have different methods. One is mechanical by pulling out with the help of our own hand or plugging and chemically by spraying weedicides. But these weedicides can create problems like asthma problem and lung infections in the humans as well as animals as well as plants. So the other thing is by biological methods using insects or other plants. The most common way of controlling weeds is by using of hand weeding implements by using a cultivator or plug. Weed control will best be achieved by removing the weeds before by flowering. It, if the farmyard manure applied is not fully decomposed, it may be a carrier of weed seeds. The chemical method of weed control is not yet very popular in mulberry plantations as silkworms are most sensitive to chemicals. Chemicals used to control weeds are called as herbicides or weedicides. A vast number of chemicals are used in most commercial crops and commonly used the chemicals are 2,4-D, paraquat, carmax, and the chemicals which can kill only a few types of weeds are called as selective herbs. 2,4-D kills only dicot weeds and gramaxone kills all plants and is called as a non-selective herbicides. The minimize injury to the mulberry plants, herbicides are applied when the mulberry plants have been pruned or after the leaf harvest. However, care must be taken to feed the silkworms after the safe period, which otherwise affects the health of worms. Here you can see with the help of all these materials, we can saw the weeds and we can cut the weeds and we can control the weeds before going to the plantation of our mulberry plants. See here, you can see here like a fork and karpi, spade, fork and the spade. And in the last week also we discussed about this hook and pull push saw, everything we discussed in the last week. So when coming to the farm records and maintenance, maintenance is an important aspect in the success of silkworm crops. And the mulberry garden especially plays a major role. These will help the manager to know whether the farm is maintained properly or not. Here, the weak points in the farming practices are intercultivation and irrigation, pruning, organic manure cultivation, and fertilizers, applying the fertilizers. All these are the practices and which shows way for strengthening the uh, farmers. The farmer can plan the future program on the facts that they have been recorded. Farmer are also works out the cost of cultivation of major crops and thinks about amendments because most of the experience comes from the field it seems. So what are the advantages of registers? It is a best or base for the identification of needs and to implement. The next one is to improve the efficacy and efficiency of farmer and basis for management and for going to the loan and acts as a compass for management and scope for the research, a basis to take a proper decisions and useful for benefit of farm. And what are the problems in maintenance of the registers? Small scale farm maintenance and these are the what maintenance becomes a problem because farmer is a labor manager. When the farmer is the labor manager and the owner, it becomes like a very hectic duty for the farmer to maintain the registers. And most of the farmers, not these days, previously most of the farmers are illiterate because of the illiteracy is the major problem for maintaining the registers. And other thing, the main thing is lack of awareness on business and complicated agricultural industry, and records are not the simple suit to our country. And fear about taxes, when they maintain, they have to go for tax payment, and lacks of the main thing is the lacks of awareness. uh, Here, how to plot a register, it is to find out the yield of leaves in the unit area, the performance of each plot variety in um, plot variety with several treatments can be assessed. The deficiencies observed can be made up by application of suitable dose of manure or fertilizer. And work register, it is useful in utilization of labor for maintenance of mulberry garden and several cultural operations needed. The efficiency of labor can be assessed based on man days utilized for each cultural operation. The work turned out on each day and the work attended to for each plot can be assessed. What is nominal role? It is for the labor strength and also to assess that attendance of each labor, his punctuality and his attendance can be checked. The attendance and the work allotted to him are marked by the supervisor every day, each day. The wage earned by each worker is worked out depending upon the number of days he worked. It also helps to assess labor performance. Inventory, it is to record the information about the implements used, stock of fertilizers and disinfectants, and the cost of production of mulberry leaves. Stock of fertilizers can be used for timely application. This record also has information on the dosage of manure applied and irrigation provided to a particular plot. The total quantity of mulberry leaves produced and the cost involved on the several inputs have to be worked out, and the cost per kg of leaves can be calculated by this formula, that is expenditure on inputs by amount of mulberry leaves harvested. This is equal to the cost of mulberry leaves produced in the particular farming field. That is expenditure on inputs. We already discussed about the inputs here. That is as a part of plot register. Everything we discussed. No, that one means the cost of uh, carrying the mulberry yield, that by amount of mulberry leaves harvested, how much mulberry leaves we harvested, that shows our cost kg of mulberry leaves produced. Then when coming to the meteorological record, here the meteorological record tells us about the temperature and rainfall, which shows a great impact on the productivity of our mulberry leaves. The daily record of maximum and the minimum temperatures, mainly rainfall should be recorded as a ready reckoner. So how to estimate the leaf yield? Here, the quality of mulberry leaf supports the good growth and development of silk worm larvae. Good quality leaves are obtained from mulberry garden, which is grown by adopting optimum agronomic practices. Like, for example, for instance, application of manures and fertilizers, timely irrigation, and intercultivation, plant protection measurements. All these are the major circumstances we have to provide for the good growth. The commencement of rearing should be timed, and bulk of the harvest is made and utilized at the correct stage of maturity to ensure higher relief yield. The insufficient quantity of feed does not permit full growth of the larvae, and the survival ability, which are important from the point of view of the overall cocoon quality, cocoon yield, and the growth of larvae. And the other hand, the overfeeding is harmful to silkworm. Good silkworm rearing that emphasizes proper regulation of quantity of leaf to suit different larvae in stars and the right quality of feeding. The assessment of these two parameters, those were quality and quantity, are of primary, place the primary importance in any sericulture industry. Here we have the methods of estimation for the leaf yield. We have to, it is very compulsory to brushing the silkworm eggs. One cannot assume the number of DFLs to be brushed basing on simply observation of field. On the leaf is estimated, it would be very easy for sericulturistic sericulture person to calculate the number of laying eggs. If rearing is started without leaf estimation, it becomes a problem in late age rearing, leading to crop loss. The leaf is estimated within the period of 10 to 12 days prior to the brushing of silkworm eggs. It is a prerequisite to specify plot for assessment of leaf yield. The cultivation system and crop pattern recommended for that system is to be known. The assessment is to be done for all the crops in a year. The sampling for leaf yield estimation is done. According to the standard procedures and principles which are in practice, here we have the expected number of plants in the mulberry plot can be estimated. Here we have a simple example for this. This is to know that the expected plant number in the plot. Here, expected number of plant in the plot is equals to standard number of plants per acre. That is X plot size. Standard number of plants, if we want to check, 43,560 square feet by plant spacing square feet. That gives us the expected number of plants. For example, in a 2 by 2 system, 2 by 2 system of cultivation, if the square feet is 43,560, here we have to substitute 2 by 2 in the plant spacing square feet. Then here you can see how much, 10,890 plants per acre. Therefore, if the selected plant area is 0.8 acre, the number of plants 8,712 expected plants in selected plot. So the density also we can calculate, plant density also we can calculate with the help of this simple formula. What is that? Observed failed pits percentage based on actual account of plants, 200 plants in the unit area, actual number of plants into 100 by expected are 200 plants. If the number is 150 instead of 200, here you can see plant density percentage is equals to 150 into 100 by 200. Then the percentage of plant density here is 75%. Then actual number of plants in a plot. Here we have a simple formula for that. Expected number of plants into plant density by 100. So here we are expecting the plants by above formula. That is how much? 8,712 into plant density is 75% by 1000. Then the actual number of plants in the plot is 6,534. There are other formulas for counting leaf yield and plant yield. It is depending upon the system of cultivation. In the shoot system harvesting, the arrangement of the leaf yield is assessed based on the observation of tree plants. These tree plants are actually pruned and the leaves are separated. So here the formula is leaf yield per plant weight of the leaf alone, that is per kg, by number of plants harvested. When the total leaf weight is 0.390 kg in the 3 plants, then here the single plant leaf production is 0.390 by 3, means 0.130 kg. Therefore, the estimated leaf yield for the entire plot is calculated using actual number of plants and leaf yield per plants. Here you can see leaf yield in entire plot, actual number of actual number of plants, those were 6,534 into 0.130 kgs is equals to 849.42 kg, means 850 kg leaf. In leaf harvest system, the leaf yield per plant is estimated and leaf harvest from the 3 plants that we discussed in the above just now with the above formula. Therefore, the leaf yield per entire plant and the entire plot is calculated as in above case. So here we have the model problems here. I hope you can understand. Just now we discussed, no? Here I'll read one problem and you can calculate. Definitely it is easy for you. A farmer named Rajaya has cultivated 1.2 acres with mulberry, where 3 to 3 spacing is adopted. The actual number of plants is only 130. What would be the leaf yield when leaf weight of 3 plants is 0.400 kg? So here we can use a simple formula, that is standard number of plants per acre by plant spacing. Then here you will get and also other formula is actual number of plants into 100 and expected number is 2000. Then finally we have one more formula, that is what per leaf yield per plant is weight of leaf by number of plants harvested. Then you can definitely get the what is that here expected increase of leaf yield is equals leaf yield into actual number of plants into 2. Then here how much Rajaya got? 1004.15 kg leaf per 1.2 acre area of mulberry field becoming to Rajaya. Then based on these, we have observations sheet here. Here you can see mulberry variety, cultivation system, rain fed, that is irrigation, and season, date of last harvest, leaf harvest, date of assessment, crop age on assessing day, area of mulberry plant, plot, standard number of plants expected, and failed pits percentage, actual number of plants present, actual leaf yield per plant, estimated leaf yield in the plot on assessment day, predicted leaf yield in the plot on peak growth stage. This is the observation sheet. And coming to the economics, here you can see the cost of initial establishment of 1 acre of rain-fed mulberry. So this is the sheet for maintaining. One should be work details and the cost in rupees. For land preparations, we need 2D plugging by molding broad plugs. The next one is 2 light plugs and digging pits, applying of FIM. We need 15 men for rupees 400 and planting material and the plantation. 2 cartloads of cutting for the rupees of something and preparation of cutting and planting. We need 6 men for rupees of 400 and manures and fertilizers. 4 tons of fertilizers we need, that is 2000 per ton. And fertilizers cost for intercultivation and weeds we need 12 men, so approximately 18 plus 28 plus 33 we need. Then for irrigation and miscellaneous requirement, so this is the way to maintain the record for the rain-fed mulberry. The economic life of the plant is about 15 years. Thus, this amount is distributed overall for the 15 years. Therefore, the amount of annual cost to be added to the cultivation expenses in the rupees, like for 1 year, how much expenditure we need. After the plantation of the crop is established within 9 months, thus one silkworm rearing can be planned during the first year. So for that also economics of cost of leaf production is as follows like this. So per 1 year means annual cost of maintenance after initial establishment. Just now we discussed we need plugs, two plugs we need for each pruning, harrowing 2 times and weeding. Weeding should be there. For that we need 5 men at time with 400 rupees of daily labor and fertilizers 1 and 2 and NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium and urea also. Application of fertilizers and Next crop onwards, what is the FYM ratio, and for their application. And intercultivation, we need labor. Leaf harvesting, we need labor. For leaf harvesting, we need 24% persons, and pruning we need. Along with this, some miscellaneous things also we need, and also non-reoccurring cost of initial establishment. This depending upon the farmer. If the farmer is himself will do all these things, then labor charges will get reduced. Thus the cost is considerably definitely reduced. So here you can see cost of production of 1000 leaf cage means if we will totally cost this much, that leads to 0.91 paisa. So irrigated cultivation also here you can see, and other things like annual cost of maintenance here you can see, and the establishment of the mulberry garden. For the establishment of the mulberry gardens, we need preparation of plugging by tractor and deep plugging by tractor, and the cost of 16 tons FYM and 1000 per ton, and making ridges and furrows, and costing of planting material about 5500 acre including transportation charges, and cost of plantation 20 men per a day, if we will cost depending upon the uh, time and depending upon the market. And fertilizers and labor for application of manure and fertilizers, and intercultural operations including hoeing, weeding, irrigation. The other things like miscellaneous expenditure. And here we have the things we have to check before going to things we have to check. The summary of our topic is the mulberry thrives under the various climatic conditions, which ranges from temperature to tropical, located north of the equator between 28 to 55 latitude. The ideal range of temperature is 24 degrees to 28 degrees centigrade. Mulberry flourishes well in soils that are flat, deep, fertile, well drained, loamy to clay, and porous with good moisture. The soil would be like moist, should have moist holding capacities. It is necessary to prepare the land, as we discussed in this entire unit. And for that, we need a selection of land for mulberry cultivation. The first one is small bushes, trees, stones which can be removed from the land to avoid the weed. After preparation, the soil to be fine tilled. It is made into blocks by convenient sizes. In pit system of planting, mulberry is planted in wide spacing, commonly 3 into 3, that is 90 centimeters to 90 centimeters. While in row system of planting, two types of single row planting and multiple row planting. In tree system of planting, bush system is followed because the plants are cut just above the ground level. Application of a basic dose of organic manure like compost or cattle manure is necessary for successful establishment of the garden. Every farm should possess the following implements to perform certain functions beside propagation, transplantation, pruning implement, pest management and control, irrigation equipments. Organic manure should be applied to the rate of 10 tons per hectare immediately after the pruning and intercultivation, and thoroughly incorporated in the soil. Green manure crops like cowpea, horse gram, and daincha All these should be incorporated into the soil like plugging before the flowering starts. And the methods like irrigation are furrow, flatbed, flatbed basin, and overhead sprinklers method used as a irrigation method. Pruning should also take into consideration for the good growth attained by the plants. Normally, the growth should be more than 6 inches in height, and stem or branch width should not be less than 23 millimeter at the bottom. As we discussed, weeds are very hard, grow fast, are very hard to control, which grows fast, flower early, and produce seeds in profusion. Weed seeds are generally do not lose viability for a year and can germinate after years. Management is an important aspect in the success of the silkworm crops. Uh, and the mulberry garden especially, it plays the major role. The quality of mulberry leaf supports good growth and development of silkworm. Here we have the simple questions. Those were Hmm. Mention planting systems in mulberry: pit system and row system, right? And then mention digging implements. What are the digging implements? One is pickaxe, crowbar, and kodali. Mention the types of irrigation. Here, just now we discussed furrow, flatbed, basin, and overhead sprinklers. And what are the forms of pruning methods? Here the pruning methods are fist and non-fist forms. And methods is summer and spring. Then just now we discussed about the mulberry uh, weeds. But here we have mulberry diseases and pests. What are the mulberry diseases and pests? As we know, here we will cover the mulberry diseases like leaf blight, mosaic, draft, leaf spot, powdery mildew, leaf rust, and white root rot, and violet rot root, twig blight, stem canker, root knot, nematode. And the other things are mulberry pests like Diacrista oblique, and gesites, mealybugs, scale insects, thrips, mites, and stem griddler, beetle, Miloceras species, and grasshopper. All these, along with this, we are also discussing about the nutrition deficiency diseases for the mulberry. Here we learned about the mulberry diseases and pests, and also we are going to discussing about the bacterial, fungal, and viral diseases, and we are also discussing about the pests of mulberry, and we are going to discussing the nutrient deficiency diseases. As we know, our plant mulberry is a perennial plant with luxurious foliage, and efforts have to unlimited source of food, nutritional, and shelter for a variety of diseases. The diseases, in addition to a reduction in the leaf yield, affects the quality of leaf majorly. When silkworms are fed with such affected leaves, not only the growth and development of the silkworms, but also the quality and the quantity of silk get affected. Though the attack of pests is restricted by frequent picking and pruning methods of the shoots, may insects still find the time and place for feeding and breeding on mulberry plants. So, mulberry plant is a harbor for many pathogens. The main pathogens are like nematode, bacteria, virus, and mycoplasma. Other major different pests to damage the mulberry leaf and its quality that affects the mulberry crop yield. Here you can see the leaf of the mulberry. See here, the mulberry leaf is affected by the leaf disease. The major pathogen, this is caused by the Pseudomonas mori, is the pathogen uh, which is the numerous small irregular white soaked water soaked patches appear on the lower side of the leaf, dorsal side of the leaf surface of the margins especially. These spots grow bigger in size and change to brown in color. These then the leaves becoming uh, curled and rotten. The affected patches fall on prematurely and appear like a thorn in wet weather. During the dry weather, remain dry on the stem. The veins are and veinlets, petioles are also infected by the pathogen. The black longitudinal lesions are presented, seen on bark of the young shoots. What is the disease cycle here? As we already discussed, uh, air and the soil is the major sources of the infection. Here, in case of leaf blight, that is bacterial disease, the main source is soil. So, infection source is soil. The secondary infections taken place through the irrigation and cultivation and mechanical injuries, also biological agents. It multiplies by binary fission. Binary fission is the reproductive way for the bacteria Pseudomonas mori. The disease occurs mainly during the rainy season. Under the favorable conditions, it infects the new plants. The loss is 5 to 10 percentage. So we have to control this disease, right? So what are the controlling measurements for this disease control? That is leaf blight. Name itself indicating blight. Means looks like burning. So the controlling measurements here are the diseased plants should be uprooted and burnt. Otherwise that bacteria will not go away. The soil should be exposed to sun always, and close spacing. Plantation are avoided. If the plants are closely together, there is a rate of transmission of infection may be easy. Rate of transmission is becoming more. So that we have to plant, we have to give the space for the both the plants as we discussed previously. Foliar spray of streptomycin and streptocycline antibiotic with 0.1 percentage is to be used, and further fungicides like a Captol, Mancozeb 0.2% can be used. Though it's a bacterial disease, but along that's what we are using streptomycin, and here we are also using the fungicides, and the other one is mosaic diseases like viral disease. Uh, as just we discussed about the leaf blight, here the mosaic name itself indicating like mosaic means irregular pattern. So our leaf becomes like irregular, and also shows like folds, looks like a high with like a high folds, which is caused by virus. So it is caused by viruses transmitted by grafting or insect vectors. So what is the disease cycle here? The primary spreads of the disease is through the infected plants only. Once the virus is inside, the susceptibility of host tissue, it becoming systematic. The incubation period is 7 to 25 days. Depending on the climatic conditions and the host pathogen interactions, means a relationship, the disease symptoms may be expressed or may be masked, may not be, can't be seen. This disease is commonly happens during the rainy season. What are the symptoms? Green part around the veins is lost and becomes like mosaic. Mosaic means foldings. Dark and green patches appears on the leaves. Then the leaves show inward curling, especially leaf margin, and tip with chlorotic lesions, means losing of chlorophyll taken place on the leaf surface. This results in reduction in plant height and size. Sometimes these are reduced to half size and healthy ones. So the main motto of ours is maintaining the leaf yield and leaf health. But here this virus directly attacks on the leaves. So there is a loss of nutritive values and the physical features of our leaf taken place. That leads to the major loss for our mulberry crop. How to control this virus? As just we discussed in our previous disease, bacterial disease, Pseudomonas mori, here also we have to uprooting and burnt of diseased plants is the major thing to remove the disease from the plants, since it's a virus. And we have to remove the old plants before planting the new plants, washing the hands and tools with disinfectant to prevent the transmission of virus. This is the main advice. It is also advised to select only virus-free plant material for grafts and cuttings. And the other one is other viral diseases, dwarfness. Name itself indicating that dwarf means stunted. It is mainly caused by the mycoplasma. Mycoplasmas are also known as PPLOs, pleuropneumonia-like organisms. that is also considered like a viral one. This Hycoplasmatale order plants order uh, organism which transmitted by grafting outwards. So what is the disease cycle of this dwarfness disease caused by the PPLOs are transmission is by the leaf hoopers. Leaf hoopers acts as a vector here. Grafting and primary source is infected plant. The incubation period is 13 days at 29 degrees centigrade or 55 days at 18 degrees centigrade. The pathogen proliferates in problem sieve tubes and moves into the phloem tissue that leads to phloem necrosis in root system. What are the symptoms here? Internodes becomes shortened with many lateral branches, giving an appearance of look like witch broom. It looks like a witch broom. On the other hand, the symptoms like chlorosis and stunted plant growth. And what are the controlling measurements? Uprooting and burnt is the major controlling measurement. And insect vectors is controlled with malnutrition, uh, controlled with malathion diluted with water or DDVP at 0.1 percentage is advisable and safe period for using 7 days. So our next one is leaf spot fungal diseases. It is caused by Cercospora moricola, Cercospora moricola, a fungal pathogen that causes this disease. Before going to depth into that, I want to show you that leaf spot. Here you can see the leaf spot here. So disease causing agent is Cercospora moricola. So the rainy season is the favorable season for spreading this disease. This fungus produces a compact mass of interwoven cushion like hyphae. Here you can see that one. This is the transverse section of infected leaf. So it will show the interwoven cushion like hyphae. These hyphae here you can see the hyphae presented here in the brown color picture. These hyphae produces conidiophores. Conidiophores are the 3 to 7 celled conidia is having 3 to 7 celled conidia. Conidia is looks like a hyaline and tapering at the one end with the 70 to 3 millimeter in size. These conidia are capable of producing new hyphae from any cell. It takes about 2 to 10 to 12 days after the inoculation of the conidia to produce a spot and another 3 to 4 days for forming conidia. What are the symptoms here? Diseased leaves show a number of circular or irregular brownish color spots with different sizes. These spots becoming enlarged and lead to shoot hole. Severely affected leaves becoming yellow in color and fall prematurely. Diseased leaves are not suitable for feeding silkworm. The leaf yield is obviously reduced to 10 to 30%. These are the symptoms and how to control this one is to spraying the fungicide carbendazole about 500 to 26 grams per hectare, which have to dissolving in same quantity of water, then sprayed on the symptom leaves. And the safe period is about 8 days. The physical and cultural methods, including uprooting of weeds, which are alternative hosts to fungus, and picking, burning of diseased leaves. And this is about the leaf spot fungal disease. The other one is powdery mildew. Before going to powdery mildew, here we can see the powdery mildew structure. As name indicating, it shows the powdery like patches on the lower side of the leaves. So this powdery mildew is caused by the Pillacetina corylea. It is a very dangerous fungus. It's a common one, but create more loss to the leaf yield. Disease cycle is, it is an ectoparasite which absorbs the nutrients by sending Hastoria into the epidermal cell through the stomata of the plant. Here you can see the structure and of the leaf, how the conidia goes inside the, here mycelia and conidia goes inside the leaf. And here asexual reproduction takes place by the conidia. Conidia is the hyaline unicellular club-shaped measuring with 70 to 20 millimeter. Conidia are formed terminally on septate and conidiophores. The liberated conidia disperse through wind, current, and finally spread the disease. The mycelium is unbranched and hyaline and forms a mycelia, mass sticking to the leaf surface. And coming to the sexual reproduction by formation of fruiting bodies, those are clistothecia. These are covered with numerous colorless needle-shaped appendages which containing 5 to 50 asci inside the clistothecia, clistothecium fruiting body, which on maturity liberated during the favorable conditions. Each ascus has 2 ascospores which germinate to produce hyphae spreading the disease. What are the symptoms? As we discussed, this is the most common fungi we can see during the rainy and post-rainy season, and more prevalent in the hilly areas. It spreads very rapidly through the wind. The disease results in the net leaf yield loss of about 40%. The protein content of harvested leaves in diseased plants is reduced about 30%. Initially, white powdery patches appears on the lower surface of the leaf. These patches cover the entire leaf surface at the latter stage and turn black to brown. Affected leaves dry, leathery, and fall off. So we need to spray the Dino cap 0.2 percentage, dissolving the water, and there are other advisable uh, like plantation methods and weeding methods to reduce the humidity are to be followed. This is about the powdery mildew disease caused by the Phylactinia corylea. Here This is about our today's class. Tomorrow we will discuss, in the next class we will discuss about leaf rust, white root, white root rot, violet root rot, twig blight fungal disease, and stem diseases, that is canker, and root knot diseases, and other. Along with that we will also discuss about the mulberry pests. Thank you all. Here I am leaving the meeting.